eye is going to be glued to the screen because every little decision matters so much in this early TPT. In the bottom right-hand side, this is, of course, the man formerly known as Razor Blader. It is Raza.
And his opponent up here in the top left, he is a part of Mind Freak and currently Insano's favorite player. This is Seither.
Does that change, do you think, if he goes to another team? Does Insano go, no, don't like him anymore?
Insano always votes for his boys, right? His mates. But yeah, you know, Insano also affiliated with Mind Freak, so he knows where his loyalties lie.
All right, you trust him to be. He's there for his friendos. He's not gonna sell him short. He's not a fair weather friend. All right. Well, that's good to know.
It does nip him in the bud. Sometimes we do predictions on ANZ Champs as well, and that we have a bit of a competitive streak there because some of us really suck at predictions, and I think Insano's faith in his mates has hurt him sometimes on those, but I think he's doing fine this time around.
Well, it looks like an identical opening so far for both sides. Raza's mind a little bit more gas, so just could be slightly faster on the starport, but for all intents and purposes, they're both going to be taking an expansion about the same time. 2 minutes 20. I don't think either of them scouted until now with their Reapers either. Yeah. So just you know, I mean, it's a pretty safe opening. Technically, you could get caught out by a Proxy Rax Reaper. Be surprised, but they've searched for it at least a little bit. See, they're not searching the proxy spot right next to his ledge. It's actually, like, I would say a bit more dangerous than what Raza's done, but it really just depends where people are proxying right now. And the Hellion on the way for Raza, whereas it's going to be the Cyclone for Seither as he goes 2 Reapers into the Tech Lab and the Reactor.
Okay. Well, we do have a couple of Reapers at the ready here for Raza as Seither comes across the map. You're always a little bit wary of that first shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions soon as well, so it's like, you want to get out of there pretty quick. But Seither jumps in. At least he'll see that it's lots of Reaper Hellion, but he's not going to get a lot of damage done. And he's slow to get behind the mineral line. He should have shuffled back there further, and he could have zoned with the grenades. Only 1 SCV. It's not a good start for Seither. And Raza going to be just quickly beelining across the map to the other side. Now, I think Seither's command center will just barely finish in time. That's the most important part. So as long as he can finish that, he's all okay. Oh my god. If those Hellions stop it.
Moment.
Oh.
Dude, just barely. Oh. Nice call, Piggy. Just with 1 second to spare, gets that done.
He doesn't
now,
get
the Cyclone
that.
doesn't have any friends.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to just dive. Okay, yeah, the Cyclone will go down. Oh, this is very, very painful for Seither. But you know what? Second Cyclone's quick enough. And nice micro on the SCV. Pulls back the weak SCV. Cyclone's going to clean this up. 1 Reaper will get on out of there for Raza. And Raza, I think, got to be a little annoyed that the command center finished. If he stopped that command center, Seither's in a supply block. And losing the command center from finishing and getting the orbital up. So it would have been a great advantage. But as it is, I think this kind of balances out. They're similar worker counts. They've both got, you know, similar units on the map. It's going to be a medevac and a tank follow-up for Seither. So he wants to go do like a little tank drop push. And it's Ravens for Raza. So Raza in a more defensive stance. Seither wanting to get a little bit more active.
Yeah. Raza's sort of rallying out here to where that ledge is. So 1, Seither can't really hop in that way. But 2, that might be where the medevac pass into. So
that's really
nice
good.
And yeah, good snipe there.
And now he can pick up the tank. It's even better. He's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I got to stay at home, and now I can boost the tank across the map. But, I mean, you know about the medevac here, so Raza shouldn't really let it get sieged up there on the low ground. Ideally, for Seither, he sieges on the low ground, takes out the depot, maybe forces that barracks on the reactor to lift up. The reactor, one of the most important pieces of your production early on, as it allows you to produce 2 units at a time. Oh, and he's not in position. Raza's going to let the tank drop get in.
He just moved out of that middle spot. Yeah, he's going to get right in here, get all those units on the high ground as well. Raz is moving forward with that Raven, and he's going to disable the tank right off the bat. Seither's trying to target it down. The Marines do come forward. He picks up what he has left, and that tank on the natural for Raz is going to make short work of Seither's tank. But Seither in response is going to jump on top of that. Doesn't get to finish it off.
Good mature choice to just pick up the Cyclone and leave there for Seither. It's tempting to leave it locked on and see if he missed targets for the tank, but respect for Raza says no. He's definitely right-clicking that siege tank on the Cyclone as it unsieges, and it's going to one-shot it. Just pick up, pull back, make the most of it. I think it works out okay there for Raza after being out of position at the start of it. Both sides lose a couple of those expensive units, but earlier into the Viking production is Raza, earlier into the stim. So for me, it feels like in terms of, hey, you've got extra Raven out, you've got the Vikings out, definitely a good situation to be in as the blue Terran, though the numbers are still very even on both sides.
I feel that this is consistent with that theme of Seither being more defensive too, and Raza being the one who wants to attack. Obviously, the early game for TVT, there's always those small skirmishes, but we see Raza moving out here, and he's got 3 tanks in tow. Gonna have more Vikings rallying across as well, and Seither, what is he gonna have to deal with this? He's looking towards getting upgrades. Does have some tanks of his own, plus those Ravens, which are going to be important if he does need to pounce on top of that.
Nice posturing from Seither just to force the initial siege up. So many scans being burnt by Raza here. That's like his 4th scan. That's actually a little over the top. He's already spent so many minerals on this. Seither, if he can defend this, he's going to be in a great spot.
Oh, he drops the auto turrets and he's coming in. The siege tank's only just finishing sieging now. Do they have enough buffer left to take this out? No, he doesn't. And he's actually going to lose everything here. Raza forces the lift on that 3rd CC, and he's going to be taking pot shots at that until Seither's in range to actually repair it. He doesn't have a whole lot to defend with here. He's bringing the SCVs pick. This could be absolute carnage on these workers.
Oh, yeah, this is devastating. Even though the Drilly Boys do take out 1 tank, 2 tank, the Vikings clean up the rest, and so much damage has been dealt here. Seither, I really think that fight on the low ground, it was the sort of fight where you actually don't want to siege your tanks. You just want to leave them in tank mode, blast, 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 but it was from the beginning not a great angle for him, and we saw that cost him in a big way. Look at this, SCVs being pulled, and Raza gets the victory. It looked like Seither had frustrated that push, but a bit too eager to move down to his 3rd base. I really just getting a bit cocky there, thinking, nah, I've got this, let's jump on top of it. Auto turrets going down first looks good, but the tanks were just too slow to siege.
Yeah, they didn't even fire until everything was just about dead in front of them, which is the rough thing when you're trying to do those TVT engagements. You make a split-second decision, and it turns out to be the wrong one, so you die. You really don't get a lot of opportunities like when you mess things up to actually recover, especially not when they're that close to your base. Maybe if he was like further out and he had a little bit more time to like walk in and set up again, then Seither would have been able to scrape together a defense. But when he pulls the entire natural mineral line and A moves that,
yeah,
you know you've got him.
Oh yeah, Drilly Boys being pulled into siege tanks and landed Vikings, never fun at all. And you know, a nice confidence booster for Raza, because he burnt a lot of scans. It wasn't finding his way in, but Seither kind of offered him the fight on a platter. Raza accepted it and said, oh, okay, cool. I didn't feel like I was going to get the damage done, but I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, there'll be more TVT action. Don't go anywhere. Greetings, we have returned once again. It is time for some more TVT action. Raza vs Seither is underway, and it was a pretty short first game, but we potentially have 4 more maps between these two. So who came out on top last for our first game, Pig?
Well, it looked like Seither was doing quite well. Both players skirmishing a lot in the early stage. Raza going a bit more aggressive with the Reaper Hellion versus the quicker Cyclone defensively, but he traded out really evenly, and then Raza just killed him. Was looking for a push, couldn't find the angle, and Seither thought he could overwhelm it, so he went for the drop the auto turrets and try to siege on top of him. Raza had the earlier siege and just got a few great tank volleys off, cleared that army in no time, and took the win from there. So a pretty decisive and quick game 1. And we're going to follow that up now with Raza's map pick, which is, of course, Beckett. So the smallest map in the pool to follow up a very quick game 1.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of doesn't bode well for Seither. And it's the first time we've seen Beckett, I think, in this season of EPT so far. It hasn't been a favorite. Obviously, best of 3s, you get a lot of opportunities to get rid of it out of the map pool. Best of 5s a little bit different. So I'm very curious to see what his plans are here and whether Seither can continue that theme of being such a defensive boss, because surely you don't pick this unless you've got a meme plan of some sort.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a short map. It's technically it's good for Terran in a lot of the matchups, but in TVT, well, who knows what's going to be coming out. Down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map in the blue, this is Raza.
And up here in the top right, the Mind Freak player in the red trunks, this is Seither.
I mean, I'm nowhere near the level of these guys, but personally, I do love a good tank Viking push on this map, Zeph. For me, it's a double factory. Just make tanks Vikings and all in across the map. It's something I've seen Clem do on this map, Lightshade, and a few others as his like, oh no, I'm really behind from the early game. What like all in could I do that could maybe bring me back? And he really likes to just, okay, just non-stop tank Viking production. You have literally no transition behind it. It's you're just building such expensive units. You need so much gas for it. So that's something to keep in mind because it's so short to get across the map. It's like Ravens don't get as much time to build up energy. The tanks don't take long to get across the map, and there's such a good tank location below the main base as well. So that can kind of reach such a good area right there where Insane is showing us. It hits the whole ramp area. It covers the production, and it just gives you so much control over the main and the natural. You get to choose where you then push into from that location. So whether or not it's a crazy tank Viking push or not, those are 2 units that come out eventually in TVT. And if one player gets the Viking advantage and tank sieged in that area, it's a great position to push forwards from. And that is partially why Seither is actually pre-preparing for that by building his production way off to the side so that it's not in reach of those tanks.
Yeah, I was going to say that might actually help him out if push comes to shove there. Obviously, it's still an awkward position because of the coverage over the ramp. It's hard to actually crack that, but it gives you a little bit more hope than sitting there. It's shelling away at your racks, Stim's in danger, things like that just get really pear-shaped real quick. But yeah, it's been super mirrored up until this point. We're finally starting to see a little bit of diversion from the perfectly mirrored production tabs there, but both players are getting that expand up.
And the reactor actually goes into double Reaper production for Raza. So even though he invested in the early reactor, normally a sign of kind of wanting to be a bit greedy, more defensive, well, yeah, there's an immediate shortage of Reapers, and he could get punished for it by losing this SCV, but he's got a Hellion, so no, he's fine.
One shot from Seither and he dips out. He doesn't want to get overzealous. Especially in these early stages, losing a couple of units can make the difference between you taking a huge amount of damage and only taking a little.
Yeah, 3 Reaper 2 Hellion's going to hit, but it's going to run into 3 Reaper 2 Hellion, and it's about to be 5 Reapers and an extra Hellion coming out. Raza is going to hit a huge Reaper Hellion attack across the map. Remember, Seither does not have a wall. This could be huge.
Yeah, I wonder if he thought like, oh well, you know, Seither might expect me to do the tank thing. He may not go for a wall. I don't know if he would have read that much into Seither's play, but he's gonna catch one of them. Oh man, it's gonna be rough to hold. He's evacuating that natural right away, takes the top of the ramp, and he does have a cyclone coming out in just 1 second.
Yeah, just in time. He's got to be careful with it, though. That doesn't mean you just get to go down there necessarily. There's so many Reapers. They get a few good grenades, and they just focus the Cyclone down. This still could work out very well for Raza.
Yeah, Seither bold enough to drop a mule down there, but that's not going to get mining. He's actually in danger of losing those workers. He's actually... Oh, he charges right up the ramp, and he just absolutely slaughters the stuff coming out here for Seither. There is a Banshee on the way, but by the time that comes out, more and more damage will have been done, and it's too late. Raza, he's got a quick 2-0 on the board, Pig.
And arguably a little bit of a quick GG there for Seither as well. I mean, it was a bad situation. The mule and then just losing everything on the ramp like that. As I said, it's like, hey, really good preparation for the tank push, but against what Raza was going for, you really just wish you had a wall off and just give up that low ground for a while. That was a massive commitment to Reapers. Whenever you see someone building Reapers out of a reactor, you've got to just give them all the respect, because they just come in like a bloody Mongol horde. It's like, there's so many Reapers, they're so fast, but they cost a ton of gas. Like, every 4 Reapers costs as much gas as a Raven, for instance. You know, it's a lot of money, but getting the good trade on his side of the map, bouncing back across here, and yeah, Seither needed... I think this was a good initial pull, but then goes back down, loses the mule. His SCVs are in trouble, and his Hellion volleys were so good for Raza on the ramp. Like, he actually just killed the unit so quickly.
Yeah, that second pull's kind of... It lured him down a little bit, and then he was sort of on the run while Raza charges up there. And he did have a tank popping as well as the Banshee. It's, you know, he would have eventually gotten rid of that, but the question always is, how much damage did you take up until that point? Is it worth playing? And I guess Seither just calls it like, yeah, no, that's not a position I'm gonna want to play this from, not on Beckett. So yeah, he's got a hard road ahead of him if he wants to keep this alive, because that puts Raza on match point, and he has looked so dominant in all the series we've watched him in so far. He's just playing out of his mind. I don't know if he can do it, man. I usually believe in the power of Seither, because every time I doubt him, he proves me wrong. But I don't know if this is going to be one of those times.
At this point, I'm just wondering when someone's going to actually make Raza work for it. Because, like, yes, he's looking great. He's looking tight. But he's bopping everybody. Like, he didn't really have close games against Probe. He destroyed Probe. He tore Risky apart. You know, the proxy barracks just got an easy win, and then took a great win as well in the other game. It was like, I haven't seen Raza. He's good planning, good build choice, tight execution. But is he playing that much better than these guys? Is it the build choice? It's surprising that the stars are aligning so much, because I feel Raza can dig deep and play an amazing game from behind. I don't know if I've seen him behind so far in the 6 games we've seen in the group stage and now here against Seither. Someone's got to put him in some deep water, because Raza is just steamrolling the opposition right now.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at these 3 players, though, Raza's clearly investing a lot of time into this. Probe stepped back a little bit. Seither kind of comes and goes himself in terms of how much attention he's playing to the game, and Risky's only just returned, so I don't know. He's still looking good though, this man in the top right in the blue trunks. Can he get a 3-0? We'll soon see. This is Raza.
Yeah, dedication pays off, Seth. You can see it so far in his performance in this tournament. Player down in the bottom left has devoted years of his life to perfecting the art form that is Terran StarCraft play, representing Mind Freak Esports. Let's see if you can get the reversal going. Will we see our second reversal of the day? It is Seither. So both opening double gas. Haven't seen too many people favoring the expand recently. It's just a little bit defensive. Feels like you don't have so much momentum, right? It's kind of hard to get the momentum going and all that sort of stuff. So I do like the choice to go for the double gas opening. They both will also invest in the SCV scout just to double check things.
Yep. Usually pretty mirrored in these early stages. I do wonder, is Seither gonna stick with his plan here? He's sort of gone for the couple of Reapers and then straight into the Cyclone in both games so far. But Raza's found a way to overrun him in both scenarios. Now, mind you, that game one was because Seither took a dodgy fight. So, you know, hard to recover from that. But see where Raza goes for this, because it seems like he's the one taking the initiative, you know? He's the one picking up and heading across the map.
So far, players just double checking any proxies out there, not finding anything, of course. And multiple Reapers, the factory. And Seither mining slightly more gas, but it does look like both players will be going for that command center about 2 minutes 25. And Raza really looking around. He's like, really? No proxies? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's in tournament play too. I think it's always worthwhile having that extra thorough scout around your base. Not everyone's down with it. They'd rather keep the stuff at home, not send the worker out, whatever it is. But you don't want to end up losing the series because you missed something silly. So Raza taking quite a roundabout path over here to the lower left side of the map. He's got those 2 Reapers at the ready, and he himself has actually opted for the Cyclone this time.
I like this. Just leave the Reapers there. Don't go in, because they'll go down. Remember, Seither did that game 1? You just went in, and they just died. But if you wait till your opponent hits you, a lot of the times people who go Reaper Alien, they move out, they attack while building add-ons at home. And if you're building add-ons, you don't have any army popping out, so if those Reapers happen to pop in, as say they do a 2 Reaper Hellion pressure, you get massive damage. Now, he does end up saying, okay, I need the scout, I've got to go in, and the patience for Seither pays off. Gets both Reapers for just 1 SCV. This is a much better start so far for Seither. Seems to be finding his ground a little bit. He's got the orbital on the way. Cyclone, no doubt, into tanks and Ravens. And Raza, is that a second Cyclone that Raza went for? Ooh.
Yeah, it is. And he's got the medevac coming here as well.
Might do the Marine drop in the main. Cyclone's just controlling the map and poking the front. Not a bad play at all. Good little bit of flexible pressure, and if Seither gets overeager, the double Cyclone's just such a dominant force against Hellion Reaper.
And Seither behind this, he's opting for the tank and Raven approach in the early stages. Of course, Raza will be making his own tanks. Uh-oh.
Oh, he messed it up. Oh, Raza pulling back a little bit there.
I thought that was dead for sure. Well, Seither's going to be counting his lucky stars, and he can take that home and repair that, bring it back for rainy day. He does also have a squadron of Marines heading out.
Just to ensure his retreat, I think, right?
Okay.
Making sure they don't get cut off on the way home. The Marines there kind of escorting them home. Raven production, of course. Getting to the second one there. Raz is way later on the Ravens. His first one's just starting. But those 2 Cyclones, normally a very good tool. They haven't found anything just yet, and that Marine drop will head forth. Neither player investing in the quick third command center just yet. So that's always a choice in TVT. You'll see players like Special take it a lot, where it's like, if you stop building Marines, you can just get a way quicker third command center. You just skip like maybe 4 Marines, bam, 200 minerals. Oh, cool, you got a third command center like a minute and a half earlier. How awesome's that? Well, if your opponent pushes with tank Raven and those 4 Marines short ends up getting you killed, it's really bad. But otherwise, it can be quite good. In this case, both players built an almost identical number of units before committing to the third command center. They're both playing on the safer side of things. That obviously gives you more units if you want to do a push of your own as well. But so far, neither player wanting to risk it. They're really kind of waiting for the other player to overstep into their defenses.
Yeah, still yet to see too much action from either player. Maybe Seither's the one that may take the opportunity to head across this time. Raza just poking out with a couple of units, but not committing to anything too crazy. He's actually trying to head towards the double NG for the upgrades as well, but those won't come into play for a little bit.
This patience could really pay off, Seth, because the whole army's moving out now. And if Raza sees it, that drop goes in the main. And you got 1 Marine, 1 tank, 1 Viking building right now. Not that easy to deal with an 8 Marine drop. I mean, they don't have stim or anything. They're not going to be the most devastating drop, but luckily for Seither, the army hasn't been spotted. So Raza he might be completely blindsided, and this would be the perfect kind of way for it to work for Seither, because that means it's going to be hard for Raza to even micro that drop, because he's just going to be scrambling to defend at home.
And he comes. Oh, the auto turrets go down. These tanks aren't sieged just yet. More turrets coming in from both sides, and the siege comes in for Seither, and he gets some good shots off the front lines there. And Raza's tank does get wiped out. The other one no longer disabled. He's going to drop at the same time and try and put a bit more pressure on Seither as he pushes at the front. And yeah, there's not really anything here to defend against those Marines. Gonna go into the natural to try and pick up some more damage while Seither repositions at the front here.
Ooh, auto turret on the tank, and he's gonna just shove forward with a Viking land. If he gets control over this position, it's well worth it for Seither. Oh, auto turret comes out defensively. The Marines, the tank, Raza needs to hold this position. His Marine drop's done so much on the other side. The tank on the high ground, the absolute hero's effort's gonna hold on. It's gonna blast this army apart.
No Marines left, just these tanks and the one Viking, and Raza is going to be able to clean this up. Yes, he loses that tank, but the last two units are so hurt, and it's SCVs defending themselves back at home for Seither. Now, both of them have lost an insane amount of workers. Seither actually comes out on top here with that third CC producing. Is there going to be a counter swing from Raza here? He didn't have a whole lot left over.
Yeah, Raza thought the spotter in the middle of the map would see anything coming. The last thing he expected was Seither's push path. Seither's push path was actually genius, and it's given him a massive lead. 14 workers ahead. He's up 2 tanks. Unfortunately, he does lose the Ravens to the Marines there. But yeah, that really allowed him to do it. I really feel like Raza has watched some of Seither's TVP, and he's noticed a pattern. Every time Seither plays a Protoss, he loses 30 to 50 SCVs to a warp prison filled with zealots. And Raza was like, well, these aren't zealots, but like 8 dudes with guns. Maybe it'll do the same thing. And he just waited, same way a Protoss would, until he saw that Seither was committed. And it did massive damage. I guess I do want to be a little critical of Seither. When his first push went in, his tanks were really far behind when he initiated the fight. So he actually could have organized his battle better because there was no pressure on him. He was the one who started the fight. And he could have actually had an even more dominating engage if he sieged the tanks as the start of the fight.
He's split up. He's got 2 halves of an army here. One half is going to head home. The smaller half.
Oh,
but what does Seither have at home?
Oh, no, don't unsiege that. Oh, Seither, that's your lifeline. Uh-oh, moves it closer to the ramp, which is not good. Oh, second tank, though, and the SCVs. I think he's okay.
Okay.
No combat shields. Oh, no, actually, they do have shields now. It's kicked in. But still, tanks on the high ground, a bit too powerful there, and does force a lift, so that's something. Raza doing a lot with a little. He stopped SCV production as Raza. He knows he's in kind of like fight or flight mode right now. Just try to survive. Oh, if he's got the orbital, that would be huge.
Not sure if he'll quite make it. There's repairs coming in, and those SCVs.
11 SCVs, that's massive.
Yeah, that does even it up a bit, but there is this awkward position here for Seither. For Raza rather, where Seither's sieged up. He's got Marines in the main here, and he doesn't have a great way to break this. And some of the production's starting to go down. He's just picking off what he can on the front lines there without getting too deep in Raza's territory. But Raza's packed up and he's coming home, so he can actually come in from a couple of angles perhaps. So only 3 tanks on the low ground here. The rest is Vikings. It's actually a tiny squad of Marines.
Oh, he's going to go for the flank, but it's not decisive enough. I don't think. He's losing a lot of units breaking this. The Marines on the high ground, actually, very nice. Okay, they took out the 2 tanks really, really well. Raza cleans it up with only 2 SCV losses. He's got the big Marine advantage. He's also got a double upgrade advantage, heading towards a triple upgrade advantage on the Marines. Raza is back in this game. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Seither is still way up in the workers. He's got an 11 worker lead, but with 2-2 on the way, Marines in these sort of scrappy games and medevacs are the unit you want because they give you map control. So if he ever catches Seither unsieged, he's just going to wipe him. If he can just even get an engage in the open, even if the tanks are sieged, 2-2 Marines are going to massively outperform Seither's force.
Yeah, Seither actually doesn't have that much army at home to defend with. He has this medevac full of Marines doing some damage here, and if he could deny the upgrades there, that would actually be pretty sick. Seither tries to pounce on this before it gets set up. But it's a fair chunk from Raza.
Oh my gosh, big push. Raza's going to go for it. He tries to get the Marines in the natural. The tank's covering well from Seither. That's too many Marines, though. He's got to pull back to the main. Does he have a tank up there? Seither has to give up the natural. Uh-oh, 13 SCVs go down. Of course, Raza's taken damage, but he didn't lose the SCVs. Whereas Seither, once again, losing a ton of SCVs. Raza playing this game out scrappily, but damn, very well done. He's got tanks. He's going to deny the 1-1. If he can siege that location, there's 6 depots, 2 engineering bays. That is a massive amount of infrastructure Seither's going to lose.
There's no way he can get in there either. Unless, like, it's funny, losing the engies actually helps Seither to be able to get in here and clean it up. Like, but yeah, Raza found himself a really nice spot here. He does have the slightly smaller army supply as Seither continues to produce here and starts to clean up. Insano pointed out there for a second, Raza was actually not mining any gas. He was sitting there on 0, just pure minerals, only marines for a little bit, but now he's got those extra upgrades kicking in as well, Pig.
Well, that's all you need, though. When you're behind, right? He's like, well, I just need enough marines to make plays happen right now. I've got some tanks, I've got some medevacs. Build SCVs, build marines, it costs nothing but minerals. And that's exactly the thing you need to prioritize when you've taken so much economic damage, is really prioritize that. And having taken out the upgrades, I mean, this is huge. Seither has a supply advantage of 1 right now. He's technically up 5 army supply, but it's way worse army supply in my opinion. Now, losing those medevacs and, oh, another F2. Oh, uh-oh. Not good. Oh, this is very well done. Okay, Seither will get a super efficient cleanup, and that's really nice for him.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe the way this can happen for Seither still is if he can tackle the army in smaller chunks like this. Because otherwise there's no way he's getting a good trade against what Raza's got. Now Raza's coming in towards that 3rd base, and Seither cleans that up in time to reposition over here. He's got plenty of tanks. This is not a spot that Raza really wants to fight in if those tanks get sieged.
Ooh, Raza doesn't have the numbers. Yeah, Raza, because he has the upgrades, he's looking for those forward positions, but this is too overeager. Raza's actually back in the worker lead, and it's kind of funny because, like, Raza's like, I got the upgrade lead, I gotta fight now, 4 upgrade advantage, but it's like, okay, you need to put some guys back on gas and get some medevacs now. You lost your medevacs, you lost your tanks. You can take a moment right now. If you get too one-dimensionally over-aggressive, Seither can do things like this. Turtle with tanks and send marines across the map. Seither knows that he can't win a front-on fight, marine versus marine. But if he's sieged up, set up in defensive positions, just tries to recover slowly out upgrades and do marine counterattacks, that's where he can get himself back into this game. Surprisingly, no SCV production for Seither, and only intermittent for Raza, who he's got 3 command centers. He's been building 1 or 2 SCVs only for the last few minutes.
Gotta get out of there. Oh, thank you. That is a fair squad of Marines. They're out for blood. 2-2 Marines. Haven't really been able to shine just yet with the positioning from Seither. Good defense with the tanks. He's really trying to escape with these medevacs without losing them, hey? He's gonna actually juke back around the right-hand side of the map and try and go towards the main.
Uh-oh. Raz is hungry. Raz is hungry. He's going for it. He's gonna get one. Oh, both!
Oh, he gets both! Oh, you're kidding.
This is a small army. This is a bad move from Seither. Because remember, the upgrade advantage is so good for Raza. You don't want to gift him fights right now. I mean, 1-1 will kick in. He does get a siege tank snipe. Maybe with the positioning, he can make this work. He's got, you know, the tanks are good. The marines are very wounded. There's not many medevacs out. Maybe this works out for Seither. He is ahead in supply right now, and it's only a double upgrade advantage. It's not a 4 upgrade advantage anymore, which is disgusting, by the way. Here we go. He's going to break.
Raza's coming in, tackling the side with the more siege tanks first, and he actually gets demolished there. Seither still has a bit of a force down towards that watchtower that he hasn't committed in towards the 3rd, and again, Raza's in a spot where it's a little bit difficult to flush Seither out of this position. He's actually going to lift up with 3 medevacs worth. We better hope that doesn't get caught by these Marines.
Oh my god, what is this? Beyond drop! Oh my lord!
Oh no! He jumps on it, and that's it, GG! No way, Seither gets a point on the board.
I guess I should say Clem, actually. That's the one. I've been casting a lot of Beyond flying medevacs on just insanely dangerous paths, but I think we all saw the Clem. Is it 6 medevacs loaded flying into like Vikings? Yeah. Don't want to see that ever again.
Don't remind me.
I understand why Raza made that move. He was obviously in a very desperate position there. When you've got that heavy marine army, even with an upgrade advantage, it's like, this is a great army. This is really good if you fight him with a giant spread, a huge arc. But, you know, he went for that break, and his units were just a bit too clumped up in that situation. They weren't quite able to get out. And very close to getting the 3-0 despite a rough start to things. In the end, Seither fights back. And if that's the beginning of the comeback, well, that was an awesome back and forth game. I'm super pumped now.
Yeah, this is what I mean by every time I start doubting Seither, he makes something work and makes me look very silly. So I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm going to sit tight and see what happens in the next couple of games because he still absolutely has a shot at closing this out. But first, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, the last 2 maps for this series. Welcome back once again. Seven Pig here, and we're in the midst of a TVT. It was looking very Raza dominated in the first couple of games, but Seither has now put a point on the board and maybe starting a comeback here. We're not sure. Raza's still on match point, so it does mean that Seither needs to win the next two to stay in it.
Indeed. 2 in a row sounds achievable. 3 in a row always sounds impossible. Once you've already taken that first map, it does seem a little bit more attainable. And Seither, of course, having to fight his heart out for that one. A scrappy game, a lot of backstabbing each other. I love the patience with that drop, just sitting over there on the edge, waiting for the right moment. Often in StarCraft, there's an eagerness to get damaged on sooner rather than later, when it's more impactful. But in TVT, such a defensive matchup, there's definitely something to be said for waiting for the right moment, and that's exactly what Razorblade did, or Raza I should say, and yeah, got himself into a scrappy back and forth game, but did end up slipping away in the end. No 3-0, can he make it a 3-1? A blue Terran in the bottom right hand side of Blackburn. This is Raza.
Looking for a comeback in the series over here in the bottom left in the red from Mind Freak. This is Seither. So the last remaining Australian player in the top 4.
Indeed, the age of Australian dominance. Is it an end? I don't think so. I think there's just a hiatus into dominating Age of Empires 2 in the near future, Zeph, that's all.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. Rest of Asia, Southeast Asia, they're all getting pretty good, man. We're seeing a lot of names that have always been kind of pretty decent, but not quite good enough to consistently get top 8 or top 4. Starting to creep up there now, and that's part of the reason why I think some names that we might expect to see in the group stages haven't made it in, because the competition is getting quite tight in there. So very cool to see that there's still some sort of fresh faces and fresh blood coming into StarCraft for these regions, but as it stands, we do need to focus in on Raza and Seither on Blackburn this time. And this is the one, this is Raza's map pick. And we said, you know, for Beckett and Blackburn, maybe these are the ones where he has specific things planned.
Multiple Reapers, no doubt, on the menu here as the factories start up as well. Interesting to see exactly where the players want to take it. Blackburn, as you said, such a strange map, and I haven't actually seen a TVT on here for a while. It's mostly been Terran versus Protoss, the occasional TVZ I watch on here, but definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on, of course, the main bases. Whenever you have this sort of base layout where there's dead space between, it's just the main base is so droppable. Obviously there's slow zones next to the main, which kind of disincentivizes picking up your whole army and boosting through. On the other hand, it's really hard to get back up in there to defend your main if you're down at your 3rd or your 4th base. And it's hard to see the units coming because it's all cut off by rocks. So unless you drop Marines in that little kind of bottom base that's blocked off by rocks, or you leave Vikings patrolling, build a sensor tower or something like that, it's very hard to have the early warning you need to defend it. So if, you know, if there's ever a player who's going to maybe do a bit of a YOLO, it might be Raza, as he's shown that aggressive tendency. He might just try and get a big drop down in the bottom of Seither's main.
Could be the way to go. And I think from what we've seen so far in terms of those first couple engagements, Raza seems to be doing a little bit better there, but Seither's a tough nut to crack otherwise. I think maybe the longer the game goes, the more Seither is able to flex and show how good he is at staying alive and finding the opportunities to keep doing damage. Raza coming in with his 3 Reaper 2 Hellion combo again here. Seither does need to back up, and the CC didn't finish.
And he didn't kill the Reaper either with the lock-on. Seither, of course, being very cautious, but he's not actually confirming kills. And as good as it is to get your Cyclone alive, he's got to get some kills to punish this move. Already losing 2 SCVs and a lot of time there. There we go. Finally gets one and another Reaper. And that will push Raza back. But a good little bit of damage to slow down Seither by delaying the command center. And Ravens coming out for Raza. So Looks like a kind of straightforward defensive setup so far for Raza. And the Raven not starting Seither. That third gas being delayed. Oh, it really messes your build up. That Raven is just like not coming out. It's 30 seconds late simply because of the denial on the gas.
That's what I mean by Raza in the early game looking pretty good. He knows how to pick the fights. He likes to come in with the 3 Reapers, and he generally finds a good way to capitalize on that because he knows Seither's got a little bit less now. Obviously he still kept some of those units alive, but with the tanks rolling out, he's got limited opportunity to use those for the moment. And we're looking a little bit more similar at this point as both are moving into that Raven production and the tank production. It seems like 2 Ravens is the number now. Is that the thing? Because I know there's been arguments in the past about how many Ravens is the right number.
4, 3, 2, 1, or none. I mean, it really comes down to the player, right? They're such a great utility unit. Their auto turrets are explosive. The interference matrix is crazy. They're amazing in the late game for literally just disabling every other good Terran unit at amazing cost. Efficiency, that is. So, yeah, I think 2 is a nice balance because it allows you to swap into the Vikings not too late. Whereas if you go, say, 3 or 4 Ravens, if you lose a fight and they have the Viking advantage, they can kind of just push you back with the Vikings and their tanks can move in and it becomes really awkward. So there's always a cost there, right? The more Ravens, the better. If you take a fight in the correct manner, you use your spells well, they're almost always worthwhile. But if you end up losing 1 or 2 skirmishes and then you don't have the numbers to initiate a fight, the Ravens can kind of find themselves being a little bit useless, just getting zoned out by Vikings and Cyclones and whatnot.
And this is one of those occasions where Seither has opted to go for those Vikings. Oh, careful with the Raven there on the front lines.
Oh, and just pull back Raza. Oh, Raza goes for it. A surprising choice there. Much quicker siege from Seither.
Seither does have an extra tank in the back here too, but he's lost all his buffer for these tanks, and the Marines are actually going to clean that up, so he actually has to hightail it out of there now. 1 more tank is about to pop, and he's still got more Vikings coming into the mix. But this gives Raza the map, and he's going to move forward and maybe set up here.
Quicker 3rd command center, more Marines in that fight, and gets down more auto turrets. Like that was a great fight there for Raza. He pushes Seither back. There's no pressure on him to capitalize. Like, Seither's the one who's like, oh god, I gotta make sure I don't die. And Raza's like, I'll just siege up here so you can't land your 3rd base. He doesn't even know the 3rd's only just finished now. Raza's ahead on literally every single thing except the SCV count, which is down in 4. So, good macro for Seither behind this, but we could actually check the units tab for a moment. I think the tank Viking count's going to be real important soon. And Raza's up, a tank down 2 Vikings. So it's not too huge of a difference, but the Raven in there definitely can upset that maths a lot.
Yeah, it certainly can. And up until that point, Seither was the one in lead on both those units, but he's now transitioning into trying to get some of those upgrades. As you said, Raza's ahead. He's quicker on those upgrades himself already. 3rd has been landed, so he can start utilizing that and reaping the benefits. Seither, that his scan out the front of his base there, just having a look at where Raza is, because he's quite tucked into his main and he's going for
it's a Viking raid. It's a Viking raid, Zeph. This is awesome. He's going to delay some barracks, get on in those mineral lines. One of those Vikings going walkabout. That's a lot of SCVs that'll go down. This is actually a great way to abuse the mobility. It has a 2-fold effect. It captures any drops coming into the main in the bottom, and he gets to go and land them in the base and do some damage. Now, I think it's about time to pick up and leave. He's killed 15, 16 SCVs. He's going to get even more. He wants that tech lab. He wants the non-combat shields. Oh, he's going to get it too.
He absolutely is. He could even get the tech lab on the factory as well, and he does do that. We'll lose these Vikings, but 24 SCVs, Pig.
Yeah, what?
Plus combat shields?
Did he just win the game with 6 Viking raid? Was that... did those guys, like, row in longboats? The Berserker Vikings, you know? Like, what the hell? Dual-wielding axes and running screaming into battle. Eager to head to Valhalla after that raid. Oh my lord, that was insane. They did so much damage.
I expected about 1/3 of that damage, not gonna lie, but Raza didn't have anything there, so it's actually crazy how fast landed Vikings can rack up those kills. Raza moves forward, seems to decide against that position. Maybe he'll go around and try and put some pressure back on Seither after that, because That's not a very healthy looking base. Seither is now well up in that work account, and he's definitely got his feet back under him after that initial fight.
I think Raza's shown a little bit more flair for the tactical engagement side, but oh, that's not it.
This ain't it, Chief. Oh no! Oh, SCV's getting absolutely shredded here at the third base. They don't even know where to go.
This is how Seither likes to StarCraft. His favorite thing is just holding down the macro key, and like he's not a very spicy player, is Seither. So his spice is I'll siege every tank at home and I'll just sneak 10 Marines across. Oh, another. Okay, he didn't want to outdo the Vikings. 23 SCVs on the second wave. 23 in a Raven.
Dude, this is what I mean. Every time I start like talking smack, like, I don't know if Seither can do this. Raza looks really good. Well, now they're both on match point, Pig. How about that? One more map to decide who's actually going to advance to the semi here and who's going to have to drop down to the lower bracket. And boy, Seither just knows how to make it work, hey?
I saw people in the chat saying the previous game was one that probably tilted both players. Well, I'll tell you what, that one tilted Raza. There's no way. If someone does that to me in a ladder game, I am fuming. I would absolutely, my table would get a little bit of wear and tear, maybe a few dents in it from me punching it. Because seriously, it was a good start. He had great control. He won the fight with the Ravens and tanks in the middle of the map a little bit later. Like, this was just control from start to finish for Raza. And then your opponent, who's behind and should be worried about dying, grabs every Viking and just floats them across the map. Absolutely insane move. I mean, this fight went really good for Raza. Even though the siege was slow, look at how many Marines he has.
Yeah. I mean, what a cleanup. Like, just the position Raza was in. And 6 Vikings changed it all.
His army was right outside. It was the worst possible moment for Raza that could hit. And you know what? I don't know if it was a desperation thing or something he'd planned, but Seither, he finds the damage, and then he does a Marine run by to finish it all off. And yeah, I think a nice way to mix things up there for Raza. A little bit of friendly fire, frustration at the end of that game as he taps out. And Seither is going to be feeling good. The momentum. Are we going to see 2 reversals in our first 2 series, Zeph? Are we really?
Are we that fortunate? I don't know. That's really spicy. we might. I mean, TVT lends itself to that kind of comeback too, because it's just those small moments. All right, chuck 6 Vikings in there and see what happens. Chuck a squadron of Marines, see what happens. And those 2 moves won in the game after everything looking in Raza's favor. Upgrades, 3rd CC, army comp, just he had nothing really going for him. So it's just one of those things, and you mentioned it too when we were talking about the map, that the airspace is kind of hard to cover, right? Like you can't really see what's coming from there, and that's really what bit him in the backside.
Yeah, he had no medevacs, right? So 1 Viking down there is probably advisable at that point, because, you know, even if it's just 8 Marines coming across the map in a dropship, that would have caused a lot of trouble. So it was a blind spot there for Raza, but Raza clearly wanted to push. He was kind of like hoping to catch Seither moving down to the 3rd base and just wipe him out. Says, I got an advantage, let's finish it. But over eagerness, this is the matchup to punish it. This is the matchup with a very strong defender's advantage, and winning, it's a methodical thing, 1 step at a time. You can't rush it. In the bottom left-hand side, let's see if he can keep it together. This is Raza.
And up here in the top right in the red, he is pulling a sick comeback. But can he close it out? This is Seither.
Double gas for both sides. Slightly slower on the second gas for Seither there, who is still, of course, playing from his glowing retro palace.
Is that what we're calling it now? I've always just thought like, oh yeah, mood lighting, but I think that fits better.
Or maybe he's inside a giant microwave. I don't know. Like,
I don't know what that would do to your strategic brain for StarCraft.
Maybe that's why he's so good.
Well, maybe that's a secret. Maybe that's why I'm not good at StarCraft. Need to stick my head in the microwave. See if I come up with some better ideas.
Was that nice morning light coming in on Raza, or midday light, I guess. As, factory goes down, does get spotted. The SCV obviously wants to leave, knowing the Reaper's going to pop in about 10 seconds.
He would be playing from the UK, right?
Yeah.
So it must be. Yeah, I actually didn't consider what time it would be for our UK-based players. But I suppose it's a good thing it's not like some obscene hour, or maybe they wouldn't be performing so well here.
No. Not the season finals. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Though to be fair, that's only for the guys living down on the Oceanic time zone. But Reaper skirmish. The SCV wants to join in. Seither gets the snipe, I think. Oh, good micro by Raza, saves it. Wow.
Pretty sick. Unreal. That's got to be a little bit annoying. So close to getting that work. Oh. But he does drop on out of there, and Raza again following up with an extra couple of Reapers. Didn't see up on that ramp, hasn't seen the reactor or anything, so Raza's sticking to his usual plan by the looks of it, just following up with those highly mobile units. Can maybe head across and see if he can take a little bit of a battle.
Yeah, lots and lots of Reapers on the way. That's always scary. Saw this just win the game on Beckett Oxide, a map where it's not as powerful, takes longer to get across. The ramps are a little chokier. But Seither's got to stay on that high ground. You know, he's got to wait for a second Cyclone or a tank to get out. Arguably, a tank's the better unit because it's just a bit tankier, funnily enough, and just has more continual, stable damage output than a Cyclone. Whereas the Cyclone lock-on is great, then has a cooldown before it has a very good attack available again. 5 Reapers, 3 Hellions on the way. They're going to be moving out across this map to fearsome force. And Seither gets caught out. He's in trouble. On the other hand, 3 Marines, 2 Reapers, a Cyclone. Another Cyclone's going to be on top of that ramp. I don't think this does anything unless the Reapers split into the main. If the Reapers split in the main, this could go well.
Yeah, Seither's learned his lesson from the first time. Doesn't want to repeat of that. He's got a nice spread at the top here. The Hellions struggling to find a target. They go down almost immediately. A Reaper gets focused down as well by the Cyclone, and he flushes that out of there pretty handily.
Great defense this time by Seither. Even though he didn't get the SCV snipe on the command center, he's looking good. Now Raza looking a little bit more tense as this series gets down to the wire. Having been up 2-0, it does prey on a player's mindset sometimes. Raza's got to stay calm and not get overeager here. He's kind of turned a little bit more in his seat. Something which is, I think, a little bit of a sign of the pressure building. He's putting all of his energy into playing his best possible game of StarCraft. Seither, though, you get a jump in the main. Marines are waiting.
Yeah, nice positioning there for Raza. One does slip through, though. And he's gonna be a bit of a pest. Obviously, will get cleaned up here, though, but he sees a little bit of what's coming out here for Raza, and it is both players going for the tank and Raven combo here. Haven't seen anyone cross over into Vikings or anything. Seither still churning out another Raven there, while Raza already about to have his first 2 out.
Ooh, a Cyclone in the tall grass there. 2 Cyclone ambush. Doesn't get any kills, though. And he's going to take a bunch of damage. Oh, does lose one of those Cyclones.
Nice little snipe there for Raza, and 3rd CC well on its way for both players at this point. And do you think we'll see a push before these 3rd CCs are taken, or is that when things will heat up a little bit?
It's always an option with the Ravens. The Raven tank, I mean, it's all about taking a good fight. It's not about forcing the issue, because this game's so mirrored in so many ways. I mean, I guess we could do a quick check of the energy levels. Those Ravens look like, yeah, they're about half and just under. And then we can check the Ravens are slightly lower for Seither. I mean, chances are it's the same number of auto turrets available. Maybe a single auto turret advantage likely for Raza when the fight happens. So Raza, it's a good idea to push here. His 3rd command center was a little later. I think he might have a couple more Marines. Just see if he finds the right fight, right? If you can catch Seither moving down to take his 3rd, if you can get the jump on him, if you can get the better siege, get the first volley off, get the auto turrets down first, anything like that, it's good. And just by being the one who's out on the map, you force them to use scans defensively. Maybe they delay their 3rd. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. On the other hand, we've seen in this series how moving your whole army to the other side is kind of a risky endeavor. If your opponent's a crazy person, has an 8 Marine drop or 6 Viking raid just waiting, it can go really bad for you.
Yeah, units for Seither are able to spot what's happening here from Raza. He's going to find himself a nice little position. The front one gets disabled by the Ravens. He's actually trying to battle in the air here. Turrets coming down from both sides. And it looks like Raza is actually starting to clean out a little bit here. This is a tough spot for Seither. He's actually got no air units left, just that one Viking that's popped out at the last second on that starport. But Raza's sitting right on top of that.
Ooh, the repair though. Clutch
yeah.
repair. Starport barely lifts in time to save. Reactor's already burnt down though. Great push for Raza. I can't believe he pushed that ledge just in the face of Seither and it worked. Seither not having a tank pre-sieged on the high ground did end up costing him there. And you know what? He's got no tanks on the low ground. Seither getting caught completely out of position. Oh my lord.
Oh, no.
Raza with a rather predictable rotation, but Seither just caught with his pants down.
He's pulling all the SCVs into this and they're getting absolutely shredded. And he knows it's too much. Raza, big sigh of relief and a bit of a round of applause there as he manages to make Seither tap out. Gets the 3-2. Very well.